At 2:26 a.m. on October 3, 2023, a system synchronization window opened across 14 casino properties in 3 states. For exactly 7 minutes, a statistical anomaly became a blueprint for theft. By sunrise, Dean Whitaker would vanish with $46 million, not through hacking, not through violence, but by watching a clock. February 12, 2023, 1:12 a.m., Atlantic City, New Jersey. The back corridor behind the Cobalt Boardwalk Resort slot cage smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and ozone from the server closet. Zone S4 existed in that liminal space where employees moved quickly and cameras swept slowly. A quiet door, unmarked, gray, positioned between the count room and the maintenance bay, opened with a pneumatic sigh that no one heard over the constant electrical hum of slot machines bleeding through the walls. The corridor was narrow, lit by LED strips that cast everything in a clinical white glow. Exposed conduit ran along the ceiling. A fire extinguisher hung from a bracket near the server closet entrance. The floor tiles, commercial grade and scuffed from years of cart traffic, showed the ghost patterns of old tape marks where previous equipment configurations had lived and died. Security camera cam 19 stuttered. 6 seconds of frozen pixels, then resumed normal sweep. The timestamp continued counting. 00112, 04, 0112, 05, 01286, but the image stayed locked on frame 4287. Then at year 11211, motion returned. A maintenance card appeared in the frame. Then nothing. Normal corridor, normal night. In the count room, a floor tablet glowed green. Promo token sync, running. The message sat at the bottom of a dashboard no one was currently watching. The overnight shift supervisor, a man named Vincent Dow, who'd worked graveyard for 11 years, was 2 corridors away reviewing a cocktail server's comp request. She wanted to upgrade a regulars room. Vincent was checking the player's historical spend, cross-referencing it against comp policy. The cage manager, Teresa Vega, was counting down a drop cart in the hard count room, her hands moving through stacks of 20s with practiced efficiency. No one noticed when the automated slot meter report began printing in the count room, feeding into Tray B with the mechanical patience of a device that had done this 10,000 times before. The printer was a workhorse HP LaserJet, industrial gray, bolted to a metal shelf. It printed silently, no beep, no notification chime, just paper emerging sheet by sheet. The report listed 12 entries, each read, auto-resolved in capital letters. The amounts varied: 480, 620, 740, 555, 820, 710, 645, 590, 775, 810, 525, 680. Credits issued, credits accepted, credits paid. The timestamps clustered within an 11-minute window. 01-1214 to 01-2347. All from different cabinet IDs, all processed as standard promotional payouts, all within normal variance for a Tuesday graveyard shift. Down the hallway, a maintenance cart loaded with spare bill acceptors sat at an angle, blocking one camera's sight line to the service corridor junction. The cart had been there since the Thursday evening shift. 4 days. A work order had been opened to replace faulty acceptors on Pod G, but the parts hadn't arrived yet. The vendor was back-ordered. The cart stayed. It created a blind spot exactly 3 feet wide, just enough for a person walking with purpose to slip through untracked. A key fob log pinged once. Main access denied. The system registered an attempt to access the server closet using a credential that didn't have proper authorization. Then, 4 seconds later, granted. The system recorded the timestamp 01-12-37 and moved on. The second credential was valid. Maintenance level access. The door unlocked. The log showed no anomaly because there was no anomaly to show. An authorized person with an authorized fob accessing an authorized area. Months later, Treasury investigators working with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network would estimate $46,000 missing across 8 months of operations. The money didn't disappear overnight. It bled out slowly, methodically, a few $1,000s at a time. Always under thresholds, always within expected variance, always just noise in the massive data flows of a regional casino network. The New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement opened an emergency notification to FBI Newark and IRS Criminal Investigation on October 8, 2023. A case tag was added to the digital file. Outmastered, legality eated. A sardonic internal code, meaning the suspect had used the rules themselves as a weapon. The suspect hadn't broken into the system. The suspect had read the manual. A floor supervisor named Marcus Chen reviewed the Cam 19 feed at 6:40 a.m. during shift change, part of standard protocol. He scrubbed through the footage at 2x speed. He saw normal traffic, a slot attendant passing through around 1:08 a.m., pushing a cart of coin cups, a janitor at 1:22 a.m. with a mop bucket, shadows from the hallway lights creating geometric patterns on the walls. Everything unremarkable. He signed off on the log and went home. A badge reader near the server closet pinged once more at 1:18 a.m., then went silent for the rest of the shift. The door opened, the door closed, the log recorded. Routine. By February 13, the entry was archived. By March, it was in deep storage. By October, when investigators finally pulled the logs, the pattern would be obvious. But on February 12th at 1:12 a.m., it was just another Tuesday night in a casino that processed 10,000 transactions a day. Investigators would later trace it back to one overlooked detail. The system didn't just have a flaw, it had a rhythm, and someone had learned to dance to it. So how did a fire professor use one formula to drain $46 million? Dean Whitaker lived in a studio apartment on the 4th floor of a building near Route 21 in Newark, New Jersey, in a structure where the elevator worked 3 days out of 7 and smelled permanently of curry and heating oil. The apartment measured 380 square feet. The lease called it cozy. The reality was that his bed, his desk, and his kitchen occupied the same visual plane from any standing position in the room. The window faced a parking lot and a shuttered transmission shop that had closed in 2019. Someone had spray-painted Jesus Saves on the roll-down gate, then someone else had added, "But I spend underneath in different colored paint." Dean stared at it every morning while making instant coffee in a mug that said, "World's okayest teacher," a gift from a student whose name he could no longer remember. He'd been a statistics professor at Hudson County Community College in Paterson until May 3, 2022, when budget cuts eliminated his position along with 4 others in the mathematics department. The termination letter arrived via campus mail in a manila envelope with his name misspelled, Dean Whitaker, which felt like a final insult. The letter was polite, bloodless, bureaucratic. Due to enrollment shortfalls and departmental restructuring, your position has been eliminated effective May 30, 2022. We thank you for your 15 years of dedicated service. 15 years. He taught probability theory, regression analysis, time series forecasting, introductory statistics for nursing students who hated math. He'd published 3 papers in mid-tier journals. He'd served on committees. He'd shown up. And now he was eliminated, like a redundant variable in an equation. The termination letter sat on his kitchen counter for 2 weeks before he filed it in a drawer. He looked at it every day, reading the signature, Dr. Patricia Harmon, Dean of Academic Affairs, and wondering if she'd even known his name before signing. The past due rent notice arrived in July, stamped final in red ink across the top. His landlord, a man named Sal Restrepo, who wore the same Rutgers sweatshirt year-round and drove a Silverado with a cracked windshield, knocked twice on Dean's door at 8:00 a.m. on a Saturday. Dean was awake, sitting at his desk, staring at job listings. Sal didn't wait for an answer. He slid the notice under the door without waiting, and Dean heard his footsteps retreating down the stairwell. The notice gave him 30 days. Sal had been patient for 3 months. The patience had run out. Dean took invisible work. Night proctoring for online exams through a company called Proctor Watch, $18 an hour, no benefits. He'd sit at his laptop from 10:00 p.m. to 4:00 a.m., watching college students take biology tests via webcam, monitoring for cheating. Eyes on the screen, no phone visible, no notes. He filed reports. He watched strangers struggle with multiple choice questions about cellular respiration and the Krebs cycle. It paid $540 a week before taxes. He also did freelance tutoring through a website called Tutor Connect that took a 40% commission. Parents would book him for SAT prep, algebra, statistics. He'd meet students at libraries or coffee shops, working through practice problems, explaining concepts he could teach in his sleep. He charged $35 an hour. The website took $14. He walked to sessions to save on gas. His car, a 2008 Honda Civic with 180,000 miles, sat in the parking lot with an expired inspection sticker. He stopped buying coffee. He stopped going to the gym. He ate pasta with butter and garlic powder 4 nights a week. His remaining skill, pattern recognition in time series and clustered events, had no market outside academia, no application in the real world where people cared about quarterly earnings and not theoretical probability distributions. Or so he thought. He started studying casino marketing pages in August 2022, not because he gambled. He'd been to Atlantic City twice in his life, both times for conferences, but because he was bored and broke, and the websites were free entertainment. Casinos advertised their hot slots and big winners with flashing graphics and excited testimonials. They posted public jackpot tickers that updated in real time. You could watch someone in Biloxi hit $12,000 on a progressive, then someone in Pittsburgh hit $8,500 on a mystery bonus 3 minutes later. Dean noticed something. The mystery bonus wins, those surprise credits that appeared without explanation, seemed to cluster after certain clock times. Not always, but often enough that it caught his attention the way a recurring decimal catches a mathematician's eye. The way 3 heads in a row makes you check if the coin is fair. He started tracking it in a spiral notebook he'd bought at a dollar store. Date, time, property, amount. Careful, neat handwriting. He also built a Google spreadsheet because paper wasn't searchable. He worked backward from press releases and social media posts, finding timestamps on photos players posted. A woman in Scranton hitting $720 at 2:28 a.m. A man in Atlantic City hitting $850 at 2:31 a.m. A couple in Bethlehem hitting back-to-back bonuses at 2:26 a.m. and 2:29 a.m. After 3 weeks, he had 67 entries. 51 of them occurred between 2:20 a.m. and 2:35 a.m. The rest scattered randomly across the day. 7 a.m., 11:45 a.m., 4:30 p.m., 9:15 p.m. But that cluster between 2:20 and 2:35 a.m. was tight. Too tight to be random. He ran a chi-square test. The p-value was 0.03, statistically significant. Something was happening in that window. On August 27, 2022, a Saturday, Dean rode a Greyhound bus to Atlantic City. Round-trip ticket, $22. He brought a prepaid phone he'd bought at Walmart for $40, screenshots of casino apps saved to the phone's photo gallery, and $80 in cash folded in his wallet. He wore jeans, a plain blue polo shirt, and sneakers. He looked like a middle-aged guy on a budget gambling trip, which he was. He walked into Cobalt Boardwalk Resort at 2:30 p.m. The casino floor was enormous, 100,000 square feet of slots, table games, and a poker room that could seat 40. The ceiling soared 20 feet high. Chandeliers made of colored glass hung at intervals, throwing prismatic light across the carpet, which was patterned in swirls of teal and gold. The air smelled like cigarette smoke and floral air freshener. Slot machines chimed and chirped in overlapping melodies. Cocktail servers in black vests moved through the aisles carrying trays of drinks. Dean signed up for a player card at a kiosk near the main entrance. The clerk, a woman named Tamara, according to her name tag, had acrylic nails decorated with tiny rhinestones and a bored smile. She asked for his ID. He handed over his driver's license. She scanned it, typed information into a terminal, and printed a plastic card with a magnetic stripe. "Good luck, hon," she said, handing it back without making eye contact. He played low-limit penny slots for 2 hours. He chose a machine near the boardwalk entrance, a game called Treasure Quest with animated dolphins and treasure chests. He bet the minimum, 20 cents per spin. He lost $35 in small increments, watching the balance on the screen tick downward. But he wasn't there to win. He was there to watch. He noted which machines logged into the loyalty system. A small display on each cabinet showed your player card balance and points. He noted which ones printed kiosk receipts when you cashed out. He watched how floor staff moved during the late afternoon shift. Slot attendants carried tablets and responded to hand-pay jackpots when bells rang. Security guards walked fixed routes, pausing at strategic points. Cameras hung from the ceiling in black domes, their lenses invisible. He left at 5 p.m. and ate dinner at a boardwalk pizza place. 2 slices, $6. Then he walked the boards, watching tourists and families, seagulls circling for dropped food. He went back to the casino at 11 p.m. Graveyard shift was different. The crowd thinned. Fewer families, fewer tourists. The players who remained were locals, serious gamblers, people who knew what they were doing or thought they did. The energy shifted from festive to focused. The lights seemed dimmer, even though they weren't. Dean stayed unremarkable. Middle-aged, quiet, no loud wins, no complaints. He played the same low-limit slots. Lost another $30. The flaw revealed itself on his third visit, September 3rd, 2022. He'd returned to Atlantic City on a Friday night, taking the same Greyhound route. He played conservatively, watching the clock, waiting for the window. At 2:26 a.m., he was sitting at a penny slot near the boardwalk entrance, a different machine, a game called Golden Empire with Roman centurions and columns. He was betting 50 cents per spin, halfway through a $40 buy-in. At 2:28:14 a.m., a mystery bonus triggered without warning. The screen flashed gold. Bonus awarded $140. The reels hadn't aligned. He hadn't hit any special combination. The bonus simply appeared, credited to his balance, and the game continued as if nothing unusual had happened. Dean checked his watch, a cheap Casio he'd owned for a decade. 2:28:15 a.m. He noted the time in his mental ledger. He played another machine 10 feet away, a game called Wild Safari. At 2:29 a.m., another bonus triggered. $95, no special combination, no warning, just a system-issued credit that posted as a standard promotional payout. The machine played a brief fanfare, then returned to normal. He walked to a kiosk and printed a receipt. The balance showed his starting amount minus losses, plus the two bonuses. The line items were detailed. Starting balance, 40 reverse wager, total, 1850, win total, 1275, promo token, auto-resolved, 140, promo token, auto-resolved, 95 goods, ending balance, 269.25. Dean stared at the phrase, auto-resolved, under the fluorescent lights of the kiosk bay. The receipt paper was thin, thermal printed, already starting to fade slightly at the edges. He folded it carefully and put it in his notebook. He left the casino at 3:15 a.m. and walked to the Atlantic Avenue bus terminal. The terminal was nearly empty. Just him, a security guard reading a paperback, and a woman sleeping across 3 plastic chairs. The arrival board showed the next Newark bus at 5:40 a.m. Dean sat on a bench near the vending machines and pulled out his notebook. He reviewed his entries. August 19th, mystery bonus at 2:27 a.m. August 24th, mystery bonus at 2:26 a.m. August 30th, mystery bonus at 2:29 a.m. September 3rd, 2 bonuses at 2:28 a.m. and 2:29 a.m. The same minute kept repeating on different nights. Not exactly the same second, but the same general window. 2:26 to 2:33 a.m. If the jackpots follow a clock, who said it? He folded the receipt and put it in his notebook between pages marked September. He bought a candy bar from the vending machine, 175 highway robbery, and ate it slowly, thinking. The pattern did not look random. The pattern looked designed. Dean spent September mapping how network slot systems should work. He didn't have insider access. He couldn't call a friend at a casino and ask questions. He didn't know anyone in the gaming industry. What he had was public information, vendor manuals, casino job postings, and a background in statistical modeling. Piece by piece, he built the architecture in his mind. System piece 1, the slot cabinet, the physical machine on the casino floor, was essentially a specialized computer running proprietary software. Each cabinet connected to a floor switch, a small network router hidden in a locked panel near the carpet. The floor switch linked multiple cabinets together and communicated with the property server, a rack-mounted computer in a climate-controlled room somewhere in the casino's back office. The property server tracked every spin, every payout, every card insertion, every logout. Raw data, millions of records per day, stored and analyzed. System piece 2, the loyalty server, separate from the property server, managed player accounts and issued promotional tokens to cabinets. These tokens were invisible to the player. No physical token existed, but they triggered bonuses, free spins, comped meals, hotel discounts. The loyalty server pushed tokens during designated windows to manage player engagement and cash flow. If you played frequently, the system rewarded you. If you lost a lot, the system softened the blow with a mystery bonus. It was algorithmic generosity designed to keep people playing. System Piece 3, a nightly seed file, refreshed bonus eligibility across all machines. The seed file was a batch process. Think of it as a reset button that ran automatically at a scheduled time. It locked records, synchronized data across properties, then unlocked. During the lock, the system queued any incoming requests and processed them in order once the sync completed. This prevented conflicts. If two properties tried to update the same player account simultaneously, the queue managed priority. Dean learned about batch windows from multiple sources. A forum post on a site called Casino Tech Talk by a former slot technician named Gary K., who complained about overnight maintenance schedules. Gary wrote, "The chain I worked for used centralized NTP servers to keep property clocks synced, but under heavy network load, like during a major event weekend, the NTP packets would lag and the batch window would drift. Sometimes by seconds, sometimes by minutes. Management never fixed it because it wasn't causing obvious problems." Dean also found a vendor manual for a slot management system called Apex Casino Link posted on a procurement website. The manual, 140 pages long, described exactly how promotional tokens were issued during batch windows. Page 87 had a diagram. Token queue, validation check, credit resolution, player notification. Page 91 included a troubleshooting section. If tokens are resolving outside designated windows, check NTP synchronization and network latency. He identified Cobalt's sync window through repeated observation. 2:26 a.m. to 2:33 a.m. local time, Eastern Standard Time. He didn't hack anything. He didn't breach firewalls, install keyloggers, or steal credentials. He simply observed outcomes and reverse engineered the timing. It was pure empirical research. Hypothesis, observation, analysis. He built a formula. It wasn't elegant. It was cobbled together from fragments of understanding. But it worked. Time drift, NTP lag, plus token queue, depth plus network traffic load. Predictable bonus window. If the NTP server drifted by 30 seconds under load, and the token queue had 50 pending requests, and network traffic was light because it was 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, then the system would process tokens in a predictable burst. The auto-resolved label meant the credits were issued without manual intervention. No slot attendant approval. No cage manager verification. Just automated compliance with an automated process. Dean used a $12 Casio digital watch as his reference clock. Every morning, he synchronized it against the U.S. Naval Observatory time signal, accessible via their website. He clicked the sync button at exactly the top of the hour, adjusting his watch to match within 1 second. Precision mattered. Microtest 1, September 14, 2022, 2:27 a.m. Cobalt Boardwalk, Atlantic City. Dean arrived via Greyhound at 11:50 p.m. He played conservatively for 2 hours, losing $60 across multiple machines. He moved to the high-limit corridor at 2:15 a.m., a section of the casino with plush carpeting, wider spacing between machines, and leather chairs instead of stools. The high-limit area was quieter. Only 3 other players were present. 2 elderly men playing video poker, and a woman in her 50s focused on a dollar slot called Megavault. Dean chose a machine called Diamond Dynasty, a game with gemstones and cascading symbols. He inserted $40 cash. He played slowly, betting $2 per spin. At 2:27:51 a.m., a mystery bonus triggered. The screen flashed gold. A voice announced, "Bonus awarded." $620 appeared on his balance. The screen displayed animated fireworks. The entire sequence lasted 8 seconds. A slot attendant glanced over from her position near the poker room entrance. She saw the amount, $620, under the $1,200 hand pay threshold and returned to scrolling her phone. No intervention required. Dean cashed out calmly. He pressed the cash out button. The machine printed a ticket. Title: ticket in, ticket out. $652 Zorishiro. He took the ticket and walked to a different bank of slots near the poker room. He sat without playing for 10 minutes, watching the room, letting his heart rate settle. His hands didn't shake. His breathing stayed level. He tested a hypothesis, and the hypothesis had held. Microtest 2, September 16, 2022, 2:29 a.m. Same property, different cabinet pod. Dean played a machine called Pharaoh's Fortune, betting $50 across 6 spins, about $8 per spin, higher stakes than usual. At 2:29:18 a.m., a second bonus hit, $740. The screen erupted in animated scarabs and golden sarcophagi. Dean logged the cabinet ID in his memory. A small metal plate on the machine's lower bezel read M317 and noted the exact time. He cashed out again. He printed a kiosk receipt before leaving the casino. The line item again, promo token, auto-resolved, $740. He walked out to the boardwalk at 3 a.m. The ocean was dark, invisible beyond the reach of the casino lights. The boardwalk was empty except for a few people walking dogs and a homeless man sleeping on a bench near a shuttered souvenir shop. Dean sat on a bench and looked at the receipt. The thermal paper was warm from the printer. The text was sharp, black on white, undeniable. 2 tests, 2 successes. The pattern was real. An early scare came on September 22nd. Dean had returned to Cobalt Boardwalk, confident now, his system validated. He triggered a mystery bonus at 2:27 a.m., $880, his largest yet. He cashed out and walked toward the exit. A slot attendant, a young guy with a name tag that read Marcus and a face that suggested this was his first job after college, intercepted him near the Players Club desk. "Hey, sir. Quick question. I need to process a payout review." Marcus held a tablet. Dean's stomach tightened, but he kept his expression neutral. "Sure, no problem." Marcus scanned Dean's player card and checked the tablet. "Okay, yeah. Anything over $600, we need to file a W-2G, tax form. Can I see your ID?" Dean handed over his driver's license without hesitation. Marcus scanned it with a handheld device, then had Dean sign the tablet with a stylus. The form appeared on screen. Certain gambling winnings. Internal Revenue Service. Form W-2G. Dean signed. Marcus handed him a printed copy. "You're all set. Have a good night." Dean walked out of the casino without rushing. He went to the bus terminal, sat on a bench, and read the W-2G form under the fluorescent lights. Payer, Cobalt Boardwalk Resort. Payee, Dean Michael Whitaker. Amount, $880. Gasserns. The form listed his social security number. Everything was official. Everything was documented. He'd have to report this on his taxes. He didn't return for a week. He thought about stopping entirely. But the money was real. The rent was still due. The collection notices were still arriving. And he hadn't done anything illegal. He'd played slot machines and won. The W-2G proved it was legitimate. On September 29th, he tested a different location. He took a bus to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a highway casino off I-78 called Sands Bethlehem. The trip took 3 hours. He arrived at 11 p.m. and played conservatively until 2:15 a.m. At 2:26:42 a.m., a mystery bonus triggered on a machine he'd been playing for less than 3 minutes. $810. He printed a kiosk receipt. The line item was identical to Atlantic City. Promo token, auto-resolved, $810. He realized the chain used one central seed schedule. The sync window wasn't property-specific. It was system-wide, network-wide, controlled by a single server somewhere, probably at corporate headquarters, probably running on an automated schedule that hadn't been updated in years. A forensic investigator would later pull the security log from the Bethlehem property, September 29, 2022, or 2/26/14, token sync start, 02-26-47, cabinet M14 promo issued. 02-27-03, cabinet M14 promo resolved. 02-29-21, cabinet M19 promo issued. 02-29-35, cabinet M19 promo resolved. 02-33-11, token sync end. The word auto-resolved appeared on Dean's receipt once, then again, then 57 more times over the next 6 months. If the system auto-resolves credits, who audits them? Dean sat in a Bethlehem diner at 4:00 a.m., eating scrambled eggs and wheat toast, watching 18-wheelers pass on the highway beyond the parking lot. Rain streaked the windows. The waitress refilled his coffee without asking. The diner was nearly empty. Just him, a trucker at the counter, and a couple in a booth speaking quietly in Spanish. He pulled out his notebook and did the math. If he could reliably trigger bonuses in the sync window, and if he could do it across multiple properties without drawing attention, and if he could scale slowly enough to stay under audit thresholds, the numbers became staggering. Curiosity became a method. Dean created an operation rule in early October 2022, written on a single index card he kept in his wallet. Scale slowly. Never spike. Stay in the noise. He set weekly caps and spread play across many cabinets, many properties, many nights. The goal was to stay invisible inside the noise of normal casino operations. Casinos expected variance. They expected mystery bonuses. They expected players to win occasionally because that's what kept people coming back. What they didn't expect was someone weaponizing the variance itself. Week 1 target, October 9, 2022. Won $200 to $2,000 across 4 cabinets to 2 properties. Week 2 target, October 10-16, 2022. $2,500 to $4,000 across 6 cabinets, 3 properties. Week 3 target, October 17, 2022. $6,000 to $8,500. Time during event weekends when foot traffic was high and variance was expected. He used geography to add noise. Atlantic City, Bethlehem, a newer property near Baltimore off I-95 called Horseshoe Casino. He chose travel routes carefully. I-95 southbound, I-76 westbound, the Garden State Parkway northbound. Different routes meant different toll plazas, different cameras, different data streams. He never stayed at a casino hotel under his name. He used Greyhound bus lines, Megabus, Peter Pan buses. He stayed at cheap motels near highway exits, places with names like Econo Stay and Parkway Rest Inn and Budget Lodge, where you paid cash at check-in and the clerk didn't ask for a credit card. His objects became tools, carefully managed and tracked. Bus passes kept in a zippered pouch. Motel key cards rubber-banded by date. Receipt envelopes organized by property. A prepaid Visa debit card refilled at 7-Eleven and CVS in $200 increments. Stapled W-2G forms filed in a manila folder in chronological order. He learned what compliance departments watched: daily drop percentages, how much cash went into machines; hold percentages, how much the casino kept after payouts; jackpot counts above $10,000, triggering federal reporting requirements. He learned what they ignored: sub-$1,000 clusters, time slice anomalies, promotional credit patterns that didn't trigger liability thresholds. He read regulatory documents from the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement, available as PDFs on their website. He read technical bulletins from the Nevada Gaming Control Board. He read industry trade publications like Casino Enterprise Management and Global Gaming Business. He learned the language. Coin in. Theoretical hold. Slot variance metrics. Player reinvestment rate. He selected cabinets tied to mystery bonus pools, not progressive jackpots. Progressive jackpots were different. They accumulated over time, displayed on giant LED screens visible across the casino floor, and when someone won, bells rang, lights flashed, crowds gathered, and slot attendants rushed over with paperwork and cameras. A $50,000 progressive win meant 15 minutes of attention, W-2G forms, surveillance review, and your face potentially posted on the casino's social media. Mystery bonuses were quiet. The screen flashed, the credit posted, play continued, no fanfare, no crowd, just a number on your balance and a line on a receipt. His money flow plan was methodical. Cash to cashiers check at the casino cage, making use of the casino's own financial infrastructure. Then small deposits across two banks, Wells Fargo and TD Bank. He opened accounts in September, depositing $500 to establish them, then adding funds in increments that stayed under the $10,000 federal reporting threshold. He also rented a safe deposit box at a Wells Fargo branch in Newark for short-term holds, never more than $8,000 at a time. The box cost $75 a year. The clerk who processed the rental, an older woman named Patricia, made small talk about the weather and didn't ask what he was storing. By November 2022, Dean had refined the system to near perfection. He knew which machines were most likely to trigger during the sync window. He knew which cage windows processed cashier's checks fastest. He knew which bus routes had the fewest cameras. He knew which motels accepted cash without requiring ID photocopies. But 3 near failures tested the system. Near failure 1, August 2022. A property changed its kiosk firmware overnight without announcement. Dean arrived at Cobalt Boardwalk at 2:15 a.m. on August 18th, ready for the usual window. He played through his warm-up routine, lost the expected amount, and positioned himself at pod M3. At 2:26 a.m., he started his sync window play. Nothing happened. At 2:27 a.m., still nothing. At 2:28 a.m., a mystery bonus finally triggered, but the timing was off. The window had shifted forward by 2 minutes. Bonuses that usually triggered at 2:27 a.m. were now triggering at 2:25 a.m. He played carefully, watching for the new pattern. By 2:40 a.m., he'd mapped it. The window had shrunk from 7 minutes to 5 and shifted earlier. The IT department had updated the kiosk firmware, probably to patch a security vulnerability, and the update had changed how the system handled NTP synchronization. Dean adjusted his formula inputs, recalibrating for the new timing. He tested the adjustment 3 nights later. It worked. The window was now 2:24 a.m. to 2:29 a.m., smaller but still exploitable. Near failure 2, October 2022. A cage manager at the Bethlehem property named Robert Chen noticed a pattern while reviewing monthly promotional credit reports. He flagged repeated W2G patterns under Dean's name and sent an email to the compliance team. Subject: repeated promo hits, same player body, same player, Dean Whitaker, player card Nashurmao 478-9012-3384, has multiple promo hits in the same time range over multiple nights in September, all under $1,200. Amounts: $620, $740, $810, $555, $695. Might be worth monitoring. The email sat in a compliance queue for 11 days. On day 12, a compliance analyst named Jamal Foster reviewed it, noted that all payouts were under $100 to $200, thus not requiring enhanced scrutiny, verified that the player's ID was legitimate, and marked the case low priority, monitor. Dean didn't know about the email. He continued playing at Bethlehem, but he rotated his schedule, visiting only once every 2 weeks instead of weekly. He also began using different entry points, sometimes the north entrance, sometimes the parking garage, sometimes the hotel lobby. Small variations. Noise in the data. Near failure 3, November 2022. A new slot director at Cobalt Boardwalk, a man named Tom Gallagher, hired from a competing chain, ordered a time sync cleanup after a minor internal audit found clock drift across the property network. The audit wasn't prompted by suspicious activity. It was standard maintenance, part of Tom's effort to prove his competence in the new role. I checked the NTP servers, applied vendor-recommended patches, and verified synchronization across all floor switches. For 2 weeks, the drift disappeared entirely. The sync window became unstable. Dean tested it on November 8th and found no pattern. Bonuses triggered randomly throughout the night, no clustering. He waited. On November 22nd, Thanksgiving weekend, heavy network load caused the lag to return. The sync window reappeared. 2:26 a.m. to 2:32 a.m., shifted slightly from the original, but still predictable. Dean resumed operations. A fatal oversight was planted during this period, though Dean didn't recognize it yet. He always started at the same pod row when he entered a property. At Cobalt Boardwalk, he liked pod M3 because it was near a service exit corridor, easy to leave quickly. away from the main floor traffic and the heaviest camera coverage. At Bethlehem, he liked Pod K for similar reasons. At Baltimore, Pod D near the hotel lobby connector. That preference, rational, safety-conscious, strategically sound, created a repeating signature in the data, an entry timestamp pattern that would later become the thread investigators pulled to unravel everything. Meanwhile, 300 miles north in a Philadelphia compliance office, a woman named Ivy Callahan was reviewing the regional dashboard. Ivy was a compliance analyst for the chain's Mid-Atlantic division, responsible for monitoring 6 properties across New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. She was 42, wore reading glasses on a beaded chain, and had worked her way up from cage supervisor over 14 years. She had a reputation for finding discrepancies others missed, usually small things, like a cashier shortchanging a drop by $40 or a slot attendant comping drinks to a boyfriend. On December 8, 2022, Ivy changed her analysis lens. Instead of sorting promotional credit data by property totals, the standard approach, the way the dashboard defaulted, she sorted by time. She filtered promotional credits issued between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. across all properties for the month of November. A narrow band appeared on her screen, 2:26 a.m. to 2:33 a.m., across multiple properties, multiple nights, 8 months of data. The cluster was tight, too tight. She exported the data to Excel and ran a distribution analysis. Normal promotional credits should scatter throughout the day, clustering slightly during peak hours, evening and weekends, but otherwise random. The 2:33 a.m. window was an outlier, 3 standard deviations above expected frequency. She flagged it in the compliance system, promo token sync cluster, boardwalk division, anomalous distribution. Her supervisor, a man named Dennis Porter, who'd been with the company for 26 years and was counting down to retirement, reviewed the flag on December 12th. He noted the amounts were within normal variance. Individual credits range from $400 to $900, well under hand pay thresholds. The total across 8 months was approximately $180,000, which sounded like a lot until you realized the division processed $4.2 billion in annual wagers. In percentage terms, it was 0.04% noise. Dennis marked it review next cycle and moved on to more pressing issues, like a poker dealer suspected of collusion at the Atlantic City property. The flag sat unseen in the system. Losses kept growing. Dean continued playing. The sync window remained exploitable. If one analyst counts seconds, how fast can it end? The system stayed quiet. October 2nd, 2023, 11:18 p.m. Cobalt Boardwalk Stairwell, Atlantic City. Dean Whitaker arrived with a backpack and $1,800 in cash. He rode a Greyhound from Newark and entered through the boardwalk doors at 9:52 p.m. His phone stayed in airplane mode. He built ordinary footage first. 20 minutes on a penny slot near the poker room, small bets, a controlled $40 loss. After midnight, he walked the perimeter, noting staff routes and a new dome camera near Pod M. At 12:41 a.m., he moved into the high-limit corridor and selected Triple Emerald Jackpot. Slow play, $3 a spin, no reaction. At 1:07, he used Kiosk Bay K2, inserted his player card, printed a receipt, and returned to Pod M3. At 1:12, Cam 19 froze for 6 seconds, then resumed. At 2:24, the kiosk displayed promo pending, system sync in progress. Dean treated it as a start signal. At 2:26, the token sync opened. He rotated only through eligible cabinets he had tested across months, keeping stakes low. Bonuses posted inside a tight band, $620, $740, $810, then $555, each cashed out as standard promo tickets. He split redemptions across 2 cage windows, avoiding a single large payout. At 2:31, a floor supervisor performed an ID check. Dean complied, waited, then relocated. At 2:31:47, a server reboot held token requests in memory and released them in a burst after 2:32:14. The cluster tightened, but surveillance attention shifted to a separate incident. At 2:58, he presented 14 tickets, requested a cashier's check, and scheduled pickup for 10 a.m. At 3:03, he exited through a side door that captured only his shoulder. By 4:04, he was back at Newark Port Authority, buying a one-way ticket to Cleveland. The check was never claimed. If the reboot left a larger trace, who would read it first? October 3rd, 2023, 9:40 a.m., Cobalt Boardwalk Surveillance Office, Atlantic City. The daily variance meeting opened with a promo credit spreadsheet on the wall. The slot director noted an abnormal total, $240 in auto-resolved credits between 02:15 and 03 Rianarcum. Staff attributed it to event weekend traffic and a late-night server patch. The item was marked for a monthly review, then dismissed. The room emptied by 09:58. The file was saved. No call was made. In Philadelphia, compliance analyst Ivy Callahan read the same report. She pulled the raw property export and filtered only promotional credits. A cluster appeared inside one narrow window, 02:26 to 02:33:11. 41 credits posted in 7 minutes. The baseline was 6 to 8. Ivy expanded to 8 months of logs and sorted by exact second. The band repeated across 127 nights. It did not look like normal noise. A second signature followed the ban. Slot pod M3 activity spiked before each sync. Entry timestamps clustered between OR 2:10 and OR 2:15. Kiosk pending token receipts matched the same minutes. One player card surfaced again and again. 4478-9012-3384. Account lookup returned a name and address in Newark, New Jersey. Dean Michael Whitaker. October 4th, 2023, 14:15. Ivy sent an urgent memo with charts, cabinet IDs, and estimated losses. By 17:02, the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement opened case AC 2219. FBI Newark and IRSCI were added the same evening. October 6, 2023, 4:58, agents entered Whitaker's apartment. It was staged clean. No computer, no notebook, no phone. The landlord reported an early move-out paid in cash. A gray Honda Civic was missing. Last verified image, October 5th, 2023, 1817. Port Authority Bus Terminal, New York City, Gate 79. A man in a cap boarded a Cleveland-bound bus. The camera held the backpack, not the face. The door closed. The trail ended.